Hi everybody, this is 𝓛𝓲𝓼𝓪 I'm saying 𝓛𝓲𝓼𝓪 because I have some funny stories to tell you that involve my maiden name. But we'll get to that later. I want to know how everybody is, how everybody's doing. Are we wearing our masks? And I'm going to show you a picture of my mask that I have patented and am in the process of creating, but you'll have to see the Helen Keller version. I'm sorry, because I'm not the artist that I am in my head. I was just listening to the news, and I'm watching the president who never wears a mask, who never leads by example. I mean, we're yelling at the world to wear a mask, but our president goes, I'm not wearing a mask because I'm tested every day. And then we have scientists saying, well, you're taking a rapid test and those tests are very inconsistent. So now he says, we're going to get rid of this virus without a vaccine. I mean, really? So then they said, well, they're testing the president every day, so who would really want to ever endanger the president? I don't think anyone really wants to answer that one. But I want to talk today about the kids of 2020. Because I know that they can't see right now beyond this moment. Because that's just normal. These kids don't know, but they're going down in history. I mean, if you think about it, who remembers the graduating class of 1999? Or 98? Or 84? Or 81? Or 2019? I mean, they're just numbers. These kids are going to be part of something that will go down in the history books. And that will make them interesting just because. Because people will want to know what it was like to be involved in that, to be a part of that, to have survived that. And what I've learned in life is it's the things that we have had to endure that we feel in the moment are so unfair. And then when we endure them, they create this extra something inside us of esteem. And then we build upon that with each thing that happens that doesn't work out the way we want or the way we thought, but we get back up and we dust ourselves off and we keep on going. And we know the truth of who we are. We know the truth of where we're going. But these kids, will go down in history. And only those of us that have been through what we've been through can see beyond the problem into the bigger picture. And I'm an intuitive and an empath. And I'm learning to trust and accept my gifts, which has been a little hard, but I'm getting better at it. And I really wanted to share with you guys my philosophy about, it's not just addiction, because I told my children, everybody has an ism. It just depends what the ism is. So your ism could be, it could be drugs, alcohol, shopping, sex, video games. I knew when I saw my 11-year-old son have that weird swirly look in his eyes, and I was like, oh my God, and he stayed up all night. I was like, this is going to be an addiction in the addiction files. No doubt, no question. And 4 years later, I was absolutely right. But let's talk about a habit, okay? A habit is a redundant set of automatic unconscious thoughts, behaviors, emotions that are acquired through our repetition, okay? The habit is when your body's done something so many times, your body knows how to do it better than your mind. For example, people wake up in the morning, right? They begin to think about their problems. Those problems are circuits and circuit memories in the brain. Each one of those memories is connected to people and things at certain times and certain places. So if the brain is a record of the past, the moment they start their day, they're already thinking in the past. Each one of those memories has an emotion. Emotions are the end product of our past experiences. Yes? Can I hear an amen? So anyway, the moment they recall those memories of their problems, see, then all of a sudden they feel unhappy. They feel sad. They feel pain. Now, how do you think and how do you feel? How you think and how you feel create your state of being, right? Right. So the person's entire state of being, when he or she starts the day, is where? In the past. So what does that mean? The familiar past will sooner or later be what? The predictable future. You can count on it. So if you believe that your thoughts have something, anything to do with your destiny, and you can't think greater than how you feel in the moment, it is because your feelings have become the means of thinking by the very definition of your emotions that are in the past. And for the most part, you're going to just keep recreating the same life you don't like. Can I hear an amen? So then people grab their cell phone, right? They check their WhatsApp or WhatsApp. They check their emails. They check their texts. They check their Facebook. They check their emails. You know, they take a picture of their body in the morning. They post it on the Instagram or the Facebook. Then they tweet something. They do all that stuff. And now they feel connected to everything. Now they feel okay. Everything that's comfortable and known in their life feels all right. And then they go through a series of routine, everyday behaviors, right? So they get out of bed on the same side. They go to the bathroom. They get a cup of coffee. They take a shower. They can trust that they can drive to work the same way every day on autopilot. They do the same things. They see the same people that push the same buttons that are emotional. And that becomes what? A program. So now they've lost their free will to what? Redundancy. A redundancy of a cycle. It becomes a subconscious problem and program, more importantly. 95% of the people who are, by the way, we're like at least 35 years old, is a memorized set of behaviors. It's a memorized set of behaviors, emotional reactions, unconscious habits, hardwired attitudes, beliefs, and perceptions that function like a computer program. So then the person can say, from the 5% of their conscious mind, you know what? I want to be healthy. I've decided I want to be happy. I want to be free. But guess what? The body's on a whole different program. Then how do you begin to make those changes? Well, you have to go beyond the analytical mind, because that's where, I will let you know, meditation comes in. And trust me, if I can meditate, there is not a soul in this world that cannot meditate. Because you can teach people through practice how to actually change their brain waves, slowing them down. And when they do that properly, they enter a different operating system where they can begin to make some really important changes. See, most people wait for crisis or trauma or disease or their diagnosis of. They wait for loss or some tragedy to make up their mind to really change. Isn't that a shame? We don't have to wait for that. That's why I'm here. Well, not really, but I do have a message, because I believe in making your mess your message. So my message is, why wait? You can learn and change in a state of pain and suffering, Or you can learn and change in a state of joy and inspiration. That's up to you. I think right now the cool thing is that people are really waking up. Not just due to our situation. I think people were waking up a little bit before this. As they're awakening, they're noticing the things that the newer people and the newer generations are doing. I spoke to a millennial who said how he is looking to the now. This newer generation that is placing them. He's looking to who's replacing the millennials. That's forward thinking. That's staying involved. And that's being willing to learn. As they are awakening, these millennials, they're noticing the things that the newer people are doing, like I said. Because evolution, change, it's a constant. It will always be. The stronger the emotional reaction you have to some experience in your life, the higher the emotional quotient. So the more you pay attention to the cause, the moment, the brain puts all of its attention on the cause, and it takes what's called a snapshot. That's called the memory. So long-term memories are created from very highly emotional experiences. I think we can all agree on that, right? So as these new millennials are awakening and looking to the newer generations that are replacing them, evolution, change, it's a constant. It will always be. The stronger the emotional reaction you have to some experience in your life, the higher its attention on the cause. So it takes what's called a snapshot, and that's called the memory. So long-term memories are created from very highly emotional experiences. What happens then is that people think neurologically within the circuitry of that experience, and they feel chemically within the boundaries of those emotions. So when you have an emotional reaction to someone or something, most people think that they can't control their emotional reaction. Well, that's not true. Because if I can, trust me, anybody can. It turns out if you allow that emotional reaction, which is called a refractory period, to last for hours or days, that's called the mood. And you're in the mood. What's wrong with him? He's in a mood. I say to someone, hey, what's up? And they say, well, I'm like in a mood. And I say, well, why are you in a mood? And they say, well, I had this thing happen to me 5 days ago, and I'm having one long emotional reaction. Now, if you keep that same emotional reaction going on for weeks or months, that's what's called your temperament. Someone says, God, why is he so bitter? I say, I don't know. Let's go ask him why he's so bitter. Hey, you, why are you so bitter? Well, I had this big thing happen to me 9 months ago. Again, if you keep that same emotional reaction going on for years on end, that's what's going to become your personality trait. I don't think you want that, trust me. So learning how to shorten your refractory period of emotional reactions is really, really where all the work really starts. Connected with meditation. So then people, when they have an event, what they do is they keep recalling that event in their brain because the emotions of stress hormones, the survival emotions are saying, hey, pay attention to what happened because you want to be prepared if it happens again. But it turns out most people spend 70% of their life in survival of what's never going to happen again. And they live in stress. And they ruin their families. And they cripple their children. And they create chaos and pain where they could have been totally happy. They could have made up their mind. They lived through that. They went through that. They learned from that. And that is over. But that's not how we're wired if we're habitually patterned in another way. Or we're taking on the patterns of our relatives or our parents. And there's a generation that just doesn't understand what it is I'm talking about. And that's okay, because the generations that do can make the change. So what happens is they're always anticipating the worst case scenario based on a past experience. And they're literally, out of the infinite potentials in the quantum field, they're selecting the worst possible outcome. And they're beginning to emotionally embrace it with fear. Plus, they're conditioning their bodies into a state of fear all the time. But if you do that enough times, the body will have what's called a panic attack without you. What do I mean without you? It's an automatic panic attack. And some of you out there know exactly what I mean. You're in it before you know it, and you don't know how you even got there. Right? You can't even predict it because it's programmed subconsciously. So then you say to the person, hey, why are you this way? And they'll say, well, I'm this way because of all these events that happened to me 15 or 20 years ago, because that's where we are now. And what that means from a biological standpoint is that they haven't been able to change since that event, and that's tragic. So then the emotions from the experience tend to give the body and the brain this huge rush of energy. So people become addicted to the rush of those emotions, and then they use the problems and conditions in their life to reaffirm their limitations. So at least they can feel something rather than nothing. So when it comes time to change, you say, hey, why are you the way you are this way? Well, every time they recall the event, they're producing the same chemistry in their brain and their body, as if the event is literally occurring at that time. So firing and wiring the same circuits, sending the same emotional signature to the body, right? But what's the relevance behind that? Well, your body is the unconscious mind, and it doesn't know the difference between the experience that's creating the emotion and the emotion that you're creating by thought alone. So the body is believing in that moment that it is actually living the same past experience 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So when those emotions influence certain thoughts, and trust me, they do, then those thoughts create the same emotions. Those same emotions influence the same thoughts. Are you getting me? Now the person's entire state of being lives always in the past. Do you see the circle? They can't get out. So then the hardest part about change is not making the same choice you made the day before, period. It's the moment you decide to make a different choice, and get ready, baby, because it's going to feel really, really uncomfortable. And that, my friend, is normal. I think the bigger thing is, if we keep firing and wiring these circuits, they become what's called hardwired. Then you have a thought, and the program just runs, because it's the emotion that follows the thought. If you have a fearful thought, you're going to feel anxiety. The moment you feel anxiety, your brain checks in with your body and goes, yep, I'm pretty anxious. So then you start thinking more corresponding thoughts to the anxiety, equal to how you feel. Do you get me? So simultaneously, the redundancy of that cycle conditions the body to become the mind. So when it's time to actually really change, the person steps into the river of change and they make a different choice, and all of a sudden, they don't feel the same way. So the body says, well, you've been doing this for 35 years. Hello? Do you think you're just going to stop suffering? You think you're going to stop feeling guilty? You think you're going to stop feeling shameful? I don't think so. You're not going to complain, blame, make excuses, feel sorry for yourself? Well, the body is in the unknown, so the body says, I want to turn back to familiar territory. I want to feel comfortable again. So the body starts to influence the mind, and it says, you know what, start tomorrow. You know, you're too much like your mother. You know, the truth is your kids are right. You'll never change. Come on, lady, this isn't going to work for you. This doesn't feel right. And so if you will respond to that thought as if it were true when it is not, that same thought will lead you to the same choice, which will lead to the same behavior, which will create the same experience, which will produce the same emotion, and there you will live in anxiety. So people get confused here and they say, what do you mean, Lisa? What do you mean by the body becomes the unconscious mind? What do you mean by that exactly? So I say, well, those are really two different things. Your body is your unconscious mind in a sense. If you're sitting and you start thinking about some future worst case scenario that you're conjuring up in your mind out of your anxiety, and you begin to feel the emotion of that event because you're living it internally, your body does not know the difference between what's taking place in your world, our world, or what you're creating by thinking and having emotions or just simply thought alone. Are you with me? So most people, when they're affirming their emotional state, when it comes time to give up that emotion, they can say, I really want to do it. But the body is stronger than the mind because it's been conditioned that way for many years. So the serpent now has become the master. And the person all of a sudden, once they step into the unknown, they'd rather feel guilt and suffering because at least that's familiar and they can predict it. And I'm sorry, that's tragic. Being in the unknown is a scary place for most people because the unknown is what? Uncertain, which is uncomfortable, especially if you're type A. They say to me, well, I can't predict my future, Lisa. I'm in the unknown. I always say the best way to predict your future is to stop now and start creating it. Not from the known, but from the unknown. Do you hear me? Not from the known, from the unknown. What thoughts do you want to fire and wire in your brain? What behaviors do you want to demonstrate in one day? The act is rehearsing. By closing your eyes every day and mentally rehearsing some action as if you were truly present in that action, in that moment. Live it like you stole it. See, the brain does not know the difference between what you're imagining and what you're experiencing in the 3D world. So when you begin to install the neurological hardware in your brain to look like the event that has already occurred, what happens now is your brain is no longer a record of the past. It's now a map to the future. And if you keep on doing it, priming it that way, the hardware becomes a software program. And for those of you who understand computers, you know what I mean. I don't even know what I mean, but you know what I mean. Then who knows? You just might start acting like a happy person. I think the hardest part is teaching our body emotionally what the future will feel like ahead of the actual experience because we made a decision. And that decision was unchangeable because we have that power. And if you don't know that, you better contact me. What does that mean? It means you can't wait for your success to feel empowered. It doesn't work that way. You can't wait for your wealth to feel abundant. It doesn't work that way. You can't wait for a new wonderful relationship to feel loving. It doesn't work that way. Or your healing to feel whole. That's the old model of cause and effect. Waiting for something outside of us to change how we feel inside of us. And when we feel better inside of us, we pay better attention to whomever or whatever caused it. What that means then is from the 𝓛𝓲𝓼𝓪 world, which I'll try to explain. Most people spend their whole life living in lack, waiting for something to change out there, not inside, but out there. Now, usually someone asks me, well, Lisa, what do you mean by the 𝓛𝓲𝓼𝓪 world? Well, the 𝓛𝓲𝓼𝓪 world is all about the predictable. It's all about predicting the future, the quantum modal of reality causing an effect. See, the moment you start feeling abundant and worthy, guess what? You are now generating your wealth. The moment you feel empowered and you feel it, you feel it like you know it, like the sun's going to come up tomorrow, now you're beginning to step towards your success. Now you're stepping into your power. The moment you start feeling whole, your healing begins, whether you know it or not. And when you love yourself and you love all of life, even those that have hurt you or disappointed you, when you find forgiveness for your happiness, you free yourself You create an equal. Now you're causing the effect. See? That's the difference between living as a victim in your world, saying, I am living this way because of this person or that thing or this experience. They made me feel this way. They made me think this way. They hurt me. When you switch that around, you become the creator of your own world. And then you start saying, wow, my thinking and my feeling is changing my outcome in my life. Hell yes. Now that's a whole different game, friends. So we can really begin to start believing that we're the creators of our reality. I mean, it's science. You can't defend it. From that place, you can do anything. From that place, you begin to live fully the authentic life that's been inside of you, fighting like a demon to get out all this time, all these years. Then, take this self into some TM meditation and OMG, watch your world blow up in the best way. In the best way. Be consistent. And before you know it, before you think or speak, you will feel that you are now living on and in a different, higher, more innately comfortable vibration. And people respond to you differently. The world responds to you differently. You respond to you differently. That vibration, it moves ahead of you. It lights your aura all around you like a magnet. So you enter the world on your day. And bam, just like that, it's a whole new world. You're meeting others on that higher vibration who have similar work that they've done, like you. Suddenly, flow happens, synchronicity, things fall into place, and you're living a life moment by moment, day by day, a life that you truly enjoy, a life that you like, a life that you're proud of, a life that is not based on the past, but is based on the excitement of the future and all that you have the power to create. It's forward motion. You'll still bump against some things and those whose lives function in that old, lower vibrational way. I mean, it'll happen. You'll notice it. And the longer that you are in and living and breathing and executing your new life, the easier it will be to let go and not get into it with the lower vibration. Bless them on their way. But you will have done your part to pay it forward in kindness, helping the planet by keeping yourself on track. And don't you see, if you do that, now everything and everything is possible. So go claim your life. Now, don't wait.